Hi there. Okay, now that we've gotten through the elections, let's see, I got a pen in my ear. Let's talk about the next event coming up. That's a great big deal to people. And I've said some things about it already, but I wanted to take a closer look because I just did, and because it's kind of a foretelling kind of thing. This thing about the Mayan calendar and whatever. Um, So I really took some deep looks into the chart. I'm going to, what I've been doing before I turned on the video was I looked at, this is my chart, okay, and I see a lot of notes scribbled on it, but I have things that I can spin around and use, and then I subscribe to this, which is Dell Horoscope month by month, and I get this because, see, it gives you opinions about other astrologers, and the Affirmus that I use has the asteroids chart, which I don't have in my book. I have the big book, Ephemeris, that runs from the year 2000 to 2050. Okay, so I'm going to go over what my chart says, and then I'm going to read a few things from, I've actually got the wrong one. This one here, see, is about the Mayan calendar madness, and I read through the article, and I marked a few things to look at the aspects for the what is it, December 22nd with the 23rd, 2012. And so I've got right here, it's going to, in the December book, it's going to show me on that date, you know, where everything is. I look at that, and then I marked off some of their comments in the article, and I compare it to my chart and see if it kind of correlated or didn't. It did in some respects, but you really got to put your mind way out there to grasp what's going on in this article, okay? So, most of the things to do with 2012, yeah, I've already said. Let me just reiterate here a little bit. Okay. On, what is it? What day did they use? Isn't it? Yeah, December 21st, 2012. That's what it is. Okay. So, let me just skip over to the December ephemeris here. It's got the planets and then the asteroids. And I don't, like I said, usually use the asteroids, but they have quite an impact when they hang around too long. And Ceres has been hanging out in Gemini, and Cancer go back and forth. And that is about traumatic separation. That's kind of important. And then Vesta, which is the Alpha Omega, the source from where all things come from and must return. That's kind of a big signal. That's hanging out in Gemini right now. And Ceres will move back away from Cancer, which represents the U.S., into Gemini. And I don't have right away what states Gemini is. But I know it's to do with communications and short distance travel and probably cars. So you can almost tell, you know, some of the things. It sounds like industry. the telephone industry, the car industry getting severed. I mean, to me, that's where it's got. Realistically, that's what I would say. Okay, I wanted to look at. Alright, on December 21st, 2012, the Sun will just be leaving a Sagittarius and going into Capricorn, where it's absolutely comfortable. The Sun is a business sign. It's also Obama's sign, sun sign. It's about men and business, and in Capricorn, which is government, house, structure, it's very comfortable there. But Pluto is there, and Pluto is complete transformation, the underworld, foreign people. That's there. Okay. And Mercury is also going to be in the house that the Sun just got done being in, which is Sagittarius, long distance travel, higher education, college, school. Okay, so there's going to be an awful lot of traveling. Long distance drivers, long distance flights. 120. Changes. It trains people making changes, sudden unexpected changes. However, Pluto and the government here trains, which is also a complete transformation, never to be the same again, trains Taurus, which is those New England states that I talked about, New England and Vermont, and up that way in Canada. Okay, now on everyday life situations, talking about that, when you talk about transformation that way, that's a good thing. That means that your property, how you manage money, the government's going to step in and say, you know, let me help you out here. Let me show you how you can better manage your money. And then it trains Virgo, which is your health, your pets, and your everyday, how you come back and forth every day, and your jobs. So it sounds to me like the government is going to be working a lot with the state of Maine and Vermont and New England. Why? I don't know, because I didn't see Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island and Canada in trouble until next year, okay, when the hurricanes come. However, Saturn, which is structure, you know, making solid, things that are immovable, trains Pisces, which is isolation, places that are isolated and empty, but also institutions and isolated places, and also that means water. And Neptune will be still 0 degrees. And so I can see the government trying to make sure that the drugs don't come back, okay? But also, let's talk about fluids, liquids, okay? And Saturn, being solid, will make solid water, which means ice, okay? Okay, this is where you can say a really horrible, you can say, oh, look at this, ice being frozen solid, and then training Ceres, which is sever, traumatic separation, earthquakes, okay, definitely, because Saturn is about the earth, life and death, remember I told you that, and earthquakes, but that seems to be training Pisces, which is Florida, Tennessee, in the South Carolina, those southern states. And so far, who's getting the earthquake tremors is Maine. And they had a couple of experiences. Now, I have not heard, at least I haven't heard, that Florida has had a tremor or an earthquake. That may be because it's taking place in isolated places where there's no buildings and nobody even realizes it's happened yet. Also, that's government, okay? Institution, Saturn is government, and institutions, government institutions, just like what happened to Maine. It was I'm sure that was some kind of a government building where they felt the tremor. That should have happened in Florida at a government, did for some reason. Instead, it played out that Chiron, which is about suffering, and children, institutions, which means severance. Severance in the U.S., cancer, meaning cutting off institutions pertaining to children. But it also can mean tear down, rebuild. So that's why I said in my last video prediction that some of these government buildings, institutions for children that are suffering will be torn down and dragged away and the land cleared out. Other buildings will be torn down completely and transformation, because Pluto in Capricorn works hand in hand with Saturn, which is Capricorn's sign, ruling sign in Scorpio, which is life and death. So just figure it out, that they're tearing things down and rebuilding it more solid. Okay, so the schools that are going to be rebuilt will be rebuilt to last a very long time and withstand the hurricanes and things. Okay. Unfortunately, the other thing that can happen is children getting abducted from schools. I don't even want to talk, because that's a severance, a traumatic separation from family. Okay, and then because it's backing up into Gemini, which is cars. So let me just say right now that I can't stress it enough. I know that you've been doing it. I've been watching the news, and they are trying to get children to understand, do not trust strangers that pull up next to you. Keep on delivering that message, because we're going to get another wave of it. Okay? So keep on working with your children. Don't give up. Stay with them. Go out to the bus stops with them. Don't assume they're going to be all right with this aspect in play for the next 6 to 8 weeks or better. Don't assume that because nothing's happened yet or thus far, it's not going to start. It could be your child next. And amazingly, it will be at their home base. Not very, either meaning their home where they live or where they came from, where they originally came from. Okay? If a child gets abducted, think about where you were living before you lived in the location where the child got abducted. Is it with an ex-spouse, whoever, that's just something I'm going to throw out to you right there. Okay. Venus is going to be also around the 23rd, also in Sagittarius. Okay, this tells me that food will be shipped. Food and clothes will be shipped to you personally. Okay, this is all right. Let me tell you where this is all going. Yes, there are. I mean, you could play this out in disasters. Okay, because transformation, Earth, transformation, Dreams, Taurus, which is Maine for Vermont, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, okay, and Canada. Yes, some some land transformations could actually happen by weather and be very, very transforming. But how there are two things can block and stall that aspect. One is you personally, if you live in these areas, you can certainly, I don't see people losing their life. I just see land and property being completely transformed. I see that you have the power, people living in these areas where this has happened, you have the strength, the power to change all that, to save yourself. I can see food and clothes coming, shipping over air to you very easily without a problem. And Aries also blocks, is a 90-degree block from Taurus. It's going to absorb a lot of the transformation effects, whether it, okay, if it's weather, they will drink in a lot of it. It will block, it will slow down, and it will impact New York like it just did, okay? This is what you just saw happen to New York, New Jersey, okay, and these places. You'll see it again in the next 2 or 3 years. And they will absorb the impact. But it will, make no mistake, these storms and these earthquakes are going to reach you in New England the next 2 or 3 years. So, the other way that you can block and conquer that is talk to the people that went through it this year really hard. Talk to New Jersey, talk to New York, in Rhode Island and these other states. Talk to these people. What did you do? What advice can you give us? Okay, the more equipped you are, I can see clearly, the more you will block and slow down the devastating effects of whatever is going to happen. I'm not saying it necessarily has to be a hurricane. It could be because, remember that Saturn, solid, treating Pisces, water, okay, conjunct Aquarius, more water. It could be, you're talking about the Mayan, okay, predictions where in the beginning, okay, what happened, we lost the dinosaurs and everything, was the flood, and then it froze, and they froze, okay? So we're talking about freezing temperatures, frozen ice. Think about this, okay? And absolutely don't hesitate to get out of that area, okay? If it's going to transform that much, you got to think about, as long as you're focused on your life and staying alive, you don't have a problem. If you're going to try to hold on to property and worry about your property, that property is going to get completely transformed. And so you have got to realize, it says in here that one of the things that the Mayan calendar and events teach you is about facing the darkness and learning, challenging the darkness and learning to look towards the light, which means get out of these dark things that you're caught up in, holding on to material things. Learn to let go, and let God. Don't be afraid to walk away from what you get and start all over again. Okay? If you have to, you have to. All right. Okay. Now, and Mars is going to be in Capricorn which is government house, with Pluto, the underworld, complete transformation. But it's at the end, almost into Aquarius. Okay. Now here's the other thing I want to tell you. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. Be in the underworld and the government. I mean, I can see them going to people's property. Communications. Alright, let me say it again. You understand that when devastation happens, be alert to the fact that there's going to be transient people running around there taking over your trying to get your property, okay? But don't be so worried about your property that you risk your life, okay? Trying to protect your property. Protect your life. Don't worry about. That's why I said long before these things that get what's valuable to you into storage or get your insurance, get security cameras, whatever. But when a devastation happens, your best bet is to move it to a storage unit, whatever you can do. But the bottom line is you. You are number one. This is what you must learn from these states in that New York and New Jersey and whatever that just went through this, okay? You must learn. You come first. Learn that, okay? Do not try to stay in a devastation situation thinking that you're going to protect your property. Okay. Alright, now let me talk about something here. Let's look at this. See, I'm really not seeing it, but this article, which was written by Bruce Scoffield, I assume he is an astrologer of some sort. I just highlighted some things that match up kind of to what I see on the chart. But if you were looking at the end of the world kind of situation, he said that the Mayans have something called catons, which was they have a long count and a short count. And on one caton ends up to 7,200 days or 19.71 years, and that they use the astrologers today suspect that they used the Jupiter-Saturn cycle, or at least this person in this article thought that, which interestingly adds up to 19.71 years, which is almost 20 years, which is pretty much the complete cycle of Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn being the government structure, Jupiter being increase. Oh, I wanted to say that before I say it. That's the other thing. Jupiter is still hanging out in Gemini, which is paper, communication, cell phones, okay? But it's retrograde. Retrograde. It's retrograde now. It's going to be retrograde all the way through December. So what I'm telling you is these cell phones that you just got, I'm going to see there's going to be recalls on a lot of these phones. Or you're going to get upset because they're not going to work right. You're going to bring them back. There's a lot of recall, return. So watch out with communication tools that are just coming out. You're going to find out you're going to have to send them back and there's going to be a recall for them. And cars Cars are short-distance transportation. They come under Germany. Recall on vehicles. It's going to happen. Okay? Happens every time. Now, getting back to the Mayan, they're saying that Jupiter's Saturn cycle, which he says there's correlations with weather and climate cycles which have been of concern to man whose civilization was based on agriculture. Okay? So if they're seeing that the land and agriculture, which is what I see, which is Saturn and Scorpio, okay, life and death, the earth, remember, they figure if there's no agriculture, then how can civilization make it? Okay. And they're saying there's 260 catons in the long count. And December 21st, 2012 is the end of the last of the 260th caton. Alright. But they found out there's no specific Mayan prophecy for the long count, which is the long, looking way ahead past 2012. They couldn't find that. And what little they did find didn't have much to say about the future. That's not real good, because what they do say, what they did find to dig up on the long count beyond 2012, he said the best we can tell is that they thought that time would go on and on, like an odometer on a car reading 100,000 miles and then turning over. So I think what they're saying is that humans could end and time goes on and on. Time never ends anyway. Okay? That was a concern to me. And then, of course, they're looking at where the zodiac is in the Milky Way. Yes, and it says some talking about the Westerners making authoritative statements about their calendars. Mayan elders have come forward stating that they are the only ones qualified to interpret the meaning of the calendar, and some of them have stated that December 21st, 2012 is a date of rebirth, the state of the world of the fifth sun, whatever that is. It is the time when humanity must overcome the dark side and identify more with the light, which I just talked about. Okay. Positive physical, spiritual transformation. This will mark the beginning of a new era. Okay. Meaning that the other way this could play out, and rightly so, with Saturn in Scorpio, which are life and death issues, beginnings and endings. Positive physical, spiritual transformation. This will mark the beginning of a new era. Okay, so it can also mean that, well, again, letting go of the dark side and looking towards the light. Spiritually speaking, changing the way that you've been for the past 20 years and becoming a new person, and with facing life and death, I'm sure that is a very life-changing event that may very well bring you closer spiritually to that side of life, the spiritual side, and not so much towards the carnal side. Is basically where they're going, and this can be very, very true. Then they also talk about, there are other writers that talk about the destructive power of the sun. And that the storm, in 1859 there was one solar eruption called the Carrington event, named from the astrologers that observed it. This storm slammed into the Earth's magnetic field, generating auroras of the northern lights. that could be seen as far as south as Florida. The early telegraph system, of course, was fried. So, I mentioned something about the magnetic field, and that an asteroid was just did happen, and we did see it. I thought that was when it was going to affect the magnetic field. They said the strongest peak thus far in the 20th century was 1958-59. And they're getting worried, and this author is saying that everybody's getting a little worried because smartphones, tablets, say GPS, and the magnetic field being destroyed could really wipe out the magnetic field. And then, of course, asteroids, which I also mentioned, which could smash into the Earth and raise havoc. This has happened many times. The most recent case being in Tunguska event in 1908, and the object exploded before hitting the ground, but it leveled trees for up to 50 miles. Very few people were living in the area. Remember I said isolated areas? Okay, so it didn't get a huge amount of attention, and only recently was it determined what probably happened. See, this is what I'm saying as I see this happening again, that there is an asteroid that has hit somewhere in Florida, and it's in an isolated, devastated area, and people don't even know it's happened yet, but it's happened. Okay? This is sad because we need the study on these asteroids when they hit, okay? They'll find it eventually. I said the Tunguska blast was only a minor brush with an extraterrestrial object. That's interesting choice of words. And there have been many others, including a few huge ones, like the asteroid that hit the Mexican Caribbean 65 million years ago. This one, famous for knocking out the dinosaurs, okay, was a real extinction event from which it took the Earth at least 10 million years to recover. This concerns me because of Saturn trining Pisces and Aquarius, which is water, and Saturn frozen, solidified, freeze, okay? This concerns me a little bit, okay? And the events are all scheduled to happen northeast. And then, of course, we know about the Earth, the axis turning, okay, which is changing the temperatures, and then there's the global warming. So there's a few things in that article that do match up to my chart, okay, and it is concerning me, all right, a little bit. But I can't. What I see happening in Florida, nobody's going to, according to this, nobody's going to notice that it happened. And New England is what worries me, because this is the frozen ice, the solid temperatures, freezing, and transformation, okay, earthquakes. There's also going to be earthquakes in Florida. Obviously, they're not going to see that right away either until it hits a government building like it did in Maine, okay. On the flip side, though, see, you don't know how this is going to play out. It can also mean transformation, meaning as a result of the disasters, Maine gets a whole new facelift, and New England and Vermont, and New York is definitely going to, and New Jersey, and Maine is going to repeat that process the next couple of years, okay? The only thing you have to remember is to look out for yourself first, okay? Do what you can to try to protect your property, but please do not do do not skip an offer to be taken out of that area because you're worried about what's going to happen to your property. Please, please don't do that, okay? Because you are scheduled for a whole new facelift, modern equipment, better health insurance, new property. People will be flying food and clothes in to help you, just like they did for New York and New Jersey when this happens to you. Like I said in my other video, you're very, very lucky. I'm telling you once again, you've got all this ahead of time information. You've had a little brush with it, you New Englanders. This is, and you know, I don't see these devastations hitting. I could be wrong. I don't know I can't remember what states are represented by Germany. But I don't see it's a worldwide devastation is what I'm trying to say. Do I see these things happening, the freezing and like it did in the beginning in the dinosaurs because everything froze? Yes, but do I see it happening across the world? I just don't see that. I see that it's hitting specific states, okay? And then I can kind of see where Pluto can play out in the terrorists, you know, that again. And airplanes, trying to try their luck again. So, but these are just parts of the course. I mean, we've been going through this, okay? So, and we always go through new wave changes with the electronics. And so, I mean, I have to say, okay, forgive me, you know, if I'm wrong, I don't see this freeze like happening on a worldwide basis. I see an area of the United States where people have to move and allow their land to be transformed, rebuilt up to be stronger, better, with all new updated situations where you become much stronger when it's over. And that's pretty much Saturn's job. So I'm going to end this because I just wanted you to know that I took a real eagle-eye look to be sure that that's the next big event now that the election's over. This mayhem thing, I just had to nail it on the head and be certain. Okay, this video is very long, so I want to end it. But it's important because I know it's a great big deal. Do not let people scare you. I don't care what happens. This is another worldwide event, okay, that I can see. I just don't see it. I see parts of the U.S., certain countries. I do not see a worldwide devastation of any sort. Okay, so enjoy this video, and I'm happy to have gone back over that for you. I wanted to answer the questions for myself, and I have. So please, you know, let that December 21st thing go, okay? And have a good one. Enjoy the new year coming up. Celebrate the new presidency. We got Thanksgiving and Christmas. Enjoy it to the hilt. And I will see y'all the next time I have something new to share with you. Have a good day. And good luck.